Yo guys, what's going on? I'm Tim Kelly, joined by Akeem Balaam. This is the Real Sports Talk Game 5 NBA Finals recap. In the Miami Heat, after a big win in Game 4 where they got great performances from Dwayne Wade and LeBron James, they fall to the San Antonio Spurs in Game 5 of this series, 114-104. And the guy who was the spark plug tonight for the San Antonio Spurs, Akeem, was Manu Ginobili, who has had a horrendous series, really just not a very good season in general. He's been banged up. But Greg Popovich, I think a lot of people would have gone in the opposite direction and given Ginobili less time, benched him, looked to give more minutes to a guy like Gary Neal. Instead, Greg Popovich starts Manu Ginobili, and he ends up with 24 points, 10 assists, and one of the best games of his playoff career. His first game over 20 points this season, I believe. And I guess that's why Greg Popovich is one of the greatest head coaches in NBA history, and we're sitting here talking about it rather than being the coaches.
I guess so, yeah. I mean, they were talking all day, all throughout the game about how Greg Popovich, I guess, had a conversation with Manu Ginobili about, you're struggling right now, but go out and play your game. Go out and play your game. You're Manu Ginobili. We need you to play like you've been playing for most of your career. And in this game, he just went off for 24 points, 8 of 14 shooting. And also, not only that, but also starting him, because he's mostly been a sixth man for the San Antonio Spurs as of late. But like you said, putting him in the starting lineup had to do a lot for his confidence, because he was hitting shots tonight that we've seen him hit for most of his career, but not necessarily for this season. But huge game tonight for Manu Ginobili. He was the reason why the Spurs are victorious tonight.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And this game got a quick start, and I felt like Manu Ginobili was hitting shots, but a lot of them were open looks or off-balance shots, and he still wasn't creating very well off the dribble. I felt like once the game slowed down, then maybe Manu's game would slow down, and it just didn't. He was hitting everything he took tonight. He was hitting floaters, leaners, everything, threes from downtown. And while LeBron James and Dwayne Wade played pretty solid in the first half, very efficient, the Spurs' ball movement was ridiculous. They were pushing the ball well, and I think that that's one of the things that Greg Popovich wanted them to do, was push the ball well, and they certainly did that. And the Heat really struggled in the first half to find a groove shooting. And while the Heat were down by as much as 16 in the first half, LeBron James before halftime began to impose his will a little bit in the post to get it to the point where it was only a 61-52 game at half. And then in the third quarter, the Heat got to within one, and then a 12-1 run for the Spurs, led by Manu Ginobili at the end of the third quarter, pretty much ended the game from there, because the Spurs went on a run and they did not look back from there. And I think that the thing was tonight, the Heat made a lot of runs after being down by nearly 20 a couple times to get this game to within 5 points, and they just were not able to finish off the runs that they made.
Exactly, and normally what happens is we normally see Miami, they're able to finish off those runs like we normally see them. They did it the last game. They did it in Game 4 after being down early in the first quarter, and then Miami just took over and dominated that game, mainly because of LeBron James and Dwayne Wade. We saw what happened the last game, but they were just unable to finish off those runs tonight, because as soon as it looked like they were going to come close, take the lead, probably take control of the game, then all of a sudden San Antonio gets some huge buckets, either from Ginobili or Parker was able to drive inside, or they get something from Duncan, or they get something from Danny Green, who again had a huge game, again for 24 points himself. But also, it was a very balanced attack from San Antonio's starters tonight. Green, 24, Duncan, 17, Parker, 26, Ginobili with 24, Kawhi Leonard with 16. So it was a more conventional way. If we're used to what we're used to seeing the San Antonio Spurs do over the years, it was much more conventional, because the story of the series for the Spurs has been so much Danny Green, but Duncan, Parker, and Ginobili all had great games. So it was more vintage San Antonio Spurs basketball tonight, as opposed to what we've been seeing for most of the series.
Yeah, and Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili specifically combined, because they were running the point most of this game, 50 points and 15 assists combined. You look at the point guard play of the Spurs and how good it was tonight, and then you flip it over to the Miami Heat. Norris Cole didn't get a ton of minutes. Mario Chalmers tonight, and really this series has not been very good. He was 2 of 10, 7 points, had 2 turnovers. Then you gave LeBron James the reins at the point guard late in this game, a little bit of Dwayne Wade, and both of them, they turned it over to combined 7 times. Dwayne Wade was 10 of 22, 25 points, 10 assists, another very good game for him. LeBron James distributed the ball pretty well. I thought 8 assists, 4 steals, 6 rebounds, but shooting-wise, again, tonight he was not able to get to the rim because the Heat were not able to get out into transition, which leads me into my next point, that the Heat defense tonight was not good enough, and LeBron James had to settle for more shots because when the Spurs got into the half-court sets, LeBron James was not getting into the rim or getting to the rim, and that's why he was 8 of 22 tonight, only had 25 points, and I think only 8 of those 25 came in the second half. And the bottom line is that if the Spurs can expose the Heat's defense the way they did and push the ball, I think that there's no way that the Heat win 2 back-to-back games in Miami.
Exactly. I gotta agree with you. I was going back and forth just thinking about this a few minutes ago, and there's no doubt in my mind that the Miami Heat are going to come back on their home floor and they're going to win Game 6, probably in imposing fashion. It could be another blowout victory in Game 6. I think Miami's going to win that. But, just like you said, if San Antonio can expose Miami, there's no way that the Miami Heat win Game 7, even on Miami Heat's home floor, because we saw in Game 1 that San Antonio, there wasn't any doubt even coming into the series that San Antonio could win on the road. But after that Game 1, that pretty much set themselves up to the point to where we know that San Antonio Spurs can win on the road right now. And the way that this series has gone, San Antonio wins, Miami wins, San Antonio wins, Miami wins. These teams have not won 2 straight, and right now that favors the San Antonio Spurs heading into Game 6 and Game 7, because the prospects for them winning this series are certainly much higher than Miami's right now.
Yeah, they are, and I think a lot of it is because of how bad, really, Miami, who is normally a very good defensive team, how bad they were as a team, a collective unit tonight. They let Danny Green, who is just on another planet right now, pretty much clinched the NBA Finals MVP if the Spurs win with 6 more threes tonight, broke the all-time record, but now he has 25 threes in the NBA Finals, which broke Ray Allen's previous record of 22, which came in 08 with the Celtics. And I think what the Heat need to do is they need to go back to giving Birdman some minutes, because Tim Duncan was exposing Chris Bosh on the boards with spin moves. Chris Bosh just could not defend Tim Duncan. I think you need to give some minutes to Birdman to take a little of the pressure defensively off of guys like LeBron James and Dwayne Wade. Give him some of the minutes and see what happens. I know that Chris Bosh, throughout the last few games, has done better on offense, 16 points, 6 rebounds. But defensively tonight, he was a liability again because Tim Duncan took him to school in the post.
Exactly, and I think we're going to see that in Game 6, because like we know, Chris Birdman Anderson, he doesn't just provide defense, he provides energy for that team, and he's even able to provide some scoring. But we know what he's able to bring to the table for the Miami Heat. So I think that Spoelstra, like we said, he's going to make some adjustments, and I think Birdman is going to see some more minutes, and I think it's going to alternate a little bit between him and Chris Bosh, because Bosh is able. You think Bosh is able to provide more offense, but Chris Birdman Anderson is going to provide that energy, and especially being on the Miami Heat's own floor, going back to Miami, I think we're going to see some of that in Game 6.
Yeah, and when the Heat get that energy, they get those tip-ins from Chris Anderson, they get the big rebounds from Chris Anderson. Those are when they make the runs where they get to the point where they're up by 10. And now the Spurs have not been a team that gets down and just goes away like a lot of the teams that the Heat have played. But if the Heat can get a few runs in Game 6 and create an opportunity to get to Game 7, if the Heat can get out into transition, that prevents the Spurs from doing the exact opposite thing and running on them a little bit. And I think if they're able to do that, then they will win Game 6. It's just, right now, I know Ray Allen got real hot tonight, 4-4 from downtown, 21 points overall. I would look for him to get a lot of minutes in Game 6 like he did tonight, got 30 minutes. But I think right now, just the chances of the Heat winning 2 games, even though it's in Miami, they're not very high. We might be speaking a different are singing a different tune after Game 6. But at this point, I think Akeem and I are both in agreement that the Miami Heat are going to have a real tough time winning 2 games in a row, and that it looks like the San Antonio Spurs are going to be your NBA Finals champions. We'll see what happens, though. Let us know what you guys think. Check out section215.com, facebook.com/TheRealSportsTalk. Hit us up on Twitter at Li495, Akeem at Cash Kelly, Kash Kelly _TRST, and we will catch you guys next time.